Okay, good morning. So today it's just Brian and I, and we're going to be talking about something called aid in attendance. And that's for veterans, or I think family members of veterans, to be able to access to help with care. And we've discussed before, excuse me, that Brian had to help both of his parents. He's a single child, so it was all on him. And he did not know about aid in attendance until quite a while later. So he missed out on a lot of money. We don't want that to happen to anybody else. So I'm going to let Brian do the talking. Brian, go ahead, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Joel. So, VA has a benefit called aid and attendance. And I'll tell you some funny stories about it a little later in our conversation. But basically, aid and attendance is for a veteran who has served 90 days of active duty and the surviving spouse. Those are the only two that are eligible for this benefit. This benefit is literally a check that will come, and it's meant to offset the costs of people that are not able to do, is it six or seven things: bathing, dressing, feeding, taking medication, all the basic necessities. I believe they're called ADLs, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so I'll tell you my story, and then I'll tell you how you can take advantage of it. Um, my dad passed away and did not know about aid and attendance at that time. Nobody tells you about it. It's not out there. Okay. It's sort of like, you go on a beach with a metal detector and you find gold, but you don't know it's there until you find it. And so this process was really very interesting. Um, I had to fill out a bunch of forms. You're going to need a DD 214, which is a discharge, obviously honorable discharge. If it's for a surviving spouse, you're going to need a marriage certificate. You're going to need a ton of VA forms, which you can go right to VA and get. But this check came for $1,500. It offset my mother's cost in the community she was in. She was in an assisted living facility, and then she eventually got transferred to a nursing home, and that also the check continued to come. The check was for $1,500, which was an enormous sum of money to offset the $5,000 I was paying out of pocket every single month. And I'm glad you're sitting, Joel, for 12 years. Okay. And so my parents, in case haven't listened to a previous episode, my parents were great parents. They didn't have a lot of money. Their only asset was their house. And we blew through that money pretty quickly at $5 grand a month. And then I had to pick it up out of pocket and was looking for ways to defray that cost. This process took a while. Once I found out about it by accident. And once I found out about it, I went gung ho trying to get it, got all the paperwork, got everything. And then I had to meet with a person. The person had to come to the community. They literally did everything to me except the proctology exam, and they never even done that. And I don't even remember. But it was a very, very in depth, invasive process. There are income limits. My mother, she should rest in peace. She had an enormous income of $290 a month from Social Security. So we qualified, no problem. Um, but they had to convince themselves. And then the checks came care of me. It came to me, I'm sorry, Brian Sachs, care of Lillian Sachs. And we got, a year's worth, maybe 12 months, 18 months worth, somewhere between a year and a half's worth. And then my mother passed away. And when she did, I got the death certificate. Check came again. I got the death certificate. I took the check, tore it up in half, okay, in pieces, and sent them a note that said, "My mother is now deceased. Here is the check.
Mhm.
And, please cease sending these checks because she's deceased."
Right.
Well, that wasn't good enough. Okay. So the next month, two checks come because they say you didn't cash the first check. So I tear those up. Okay. And then I send it. I send it registered mail. You have to sign for it, so we know somebody signed for it. But it could have been a clerk in a
Right,
mailroom. You
right,
know, I think it was in St. Louis. Then I called and told them, and then I called Social Security because they did accept a torn up check. Okay, and stop. And I said, can you guys let VA know you're both the U.S. government? Well,
right,
we don't communicate. That's not our thing. Okay.
right,
P.S. I got 12 months worth of checks and I cashed every single one of them and put them in the bank because I know
right. They're gonna want it.
eventually they're gonna, want their money back. So I put it all in a bank account, didn't spend 10 cents of it. It was all there. And about 18 months later, I get this really nasty letter. You have, taken these checks fraudulently, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And, we're going to be in touch with the IRS and file a lien against you if you ever get tax money, we'll claim it first. It was just nasty. So I sent them their check, and all was well. But like, why are you screaming at me if you're incompetent?
Right, right.
Basically.
So basically, it took you, your mom was in the home for whatever, 6 or 7 years. You didn't know that you could get it. You got it at the very end, so you missed all that time.
Tens
And
of
then,
thousands of dollars.
right, and then you couldn't get them to stop sending
Then
it.
you're right. It's like you start. It takes all this effort to start. Now you can't get it to stop.
Right,
So, the wisdom of the VA. But in any case, it is a wonderful hidden benefit. And I'm so glad that you're a listener. And you probably ought to forward this episode to
yeah,
anyone you know that's working in the senior field, anything related to seniors, because it's such a great benefit. And yes, it is hard to get. You have to go through a lot of proof, but if it's legitimate, they will give it to you. You may not be able to stop it, but they will give it to you. And it's a great, great tool to offset the costs of senior care, whether it's a nursing home, whether it's in a assisted living community, even if the person's at home with AIDS.
right, right,
It's a great benefit. It's called VA Aid and Attendance. Again, you want to gather together your DD 214 if it's for the surviving spouse, right? Which who would have thought the surviving
right,
spouse gets
right.
that benefit? But I wish I would have known when my
I
father,
mean,
the
look,
veteran, was alive.
right, we can't do enough for our veterans and their
Right.
spouses. So,
Right. So
you
I
know,
don't know why they keep it hidden, but my God, I mean, these are people who keep us safe and allow us to enjoy our freedoms. It's the very least we should be able to
of
do.
course, but you know why it's hidden. It's like many other things. When you apply for like Social Security disability, you're always denied the first time because they're expecting people to not either have the energy, the mental capacity, or the emotional acuity, I guess, to continue going forward because it's a frustration. So it limits, how much the government is spending. But that's why we do these podcasts so that everybody out there, our listeners, know what is available. And I also wanted to say it's really important. This is going back to many of the people that we have interviewed who are home health care companies and provide home health care services, that provide other kinds of ancillary services, placement agents that help people find the correct fit for assisted living or nursing care community. And if you're with the right people, they know all of these things because their job is not only to find the right care for you, but to also try to offset some of those payments so that you can afford it.
Yeah, I mean that, this money goes very, very quickly and it's lots of it when you're
Right.
talking about the facility or home health care. I'll tell you a funny VA story, just sort of jumped into my brain. My father, he should also rest in peace. He was a disabled vet from World War II. I used to joke with him and say, well, how was the Civil War? Did you get to meet General Grant? But he was deaf because he was next to a machine gun and blew out his eardrum.
Uh-huh.
And forever he was getting like 200-300 bucks a month as a disabled American vet. Okay,
That doesn't sound like enough.
it's nothing. But
Right.
here's the rub: they kept trying to take it away from him. So they would keep sending him to get hearing tests and this
Oh,
test and that test. Anyway, so one time he gets tested, and they were really very seriously trying to take it away, and they put him he had to take a test overnight because of his hearing. Okay. And you could, I don't know what it did, but like you couldn't leave. You, after this, whatever procedure they did to you,
Right.
you fake not hearing. I guess you just don't answer people, but whatever. In any case, so they put him in Baltimore in the VA hospital in Loch Raven, and they're out of beds. So they put him on the drug rehab unit.
Oh,
Okay. Now, my father was at that point, he was like in his late 60s, early 70s. And these people were coming off of, they're detoxing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
not
Serious.
exactly a pleasant situation.
Right.
And anyway, I walk in there to visit him and take him home. And I've got on, at that point I had dark hair, not gray hair, but I had dark hair, dark mustache. And I'm wearing, because I'm a real estate agent and mortgage banker, I'm wearing nice shirt, slacks, and a tie.
Hmm.
Well, son of a bitch, I look just like the doctor. And the nurses were coming up to me and going, "Can you sign that room 302?" And I'm signing. Let everybody out.
Oh, that's so
Let them go.
funny.
Let them out. It was all good. It was like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. It was the most
Oh, wow.
hysterical situation. They let him keep his 200-300 bucks till he
Right.
died. But
I
man,
mean,
they put him through hoops to keep that, which is like, I mean, come on, really,
right. Exactly.
um,
Exactly.
so anyway, um, make use of your VA benefit. That's really the bottom line. You earned it. The surviving
Right.
spouse certainly earned it in a
Of course.
sense because of the worry, and if the person was disabled and whatever the case may be, we want to publicize it. So I hope you'll like our podcast and leave your comments below. I hope more importantly, you'll share it. And if you are working in the senior field, please let us know if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast. We're always trying to bring useful information to the community. Naturally, if you have a home to sell or looking to purchase a home, that's also one of our specialties, and we're happy to talk to you about that as well. Joel and I combined, I hope you don't get mad and punch your fist through the screen here, Joel. But together, Joel and I have almost 45 or 50 years worth of experience in the real estate industry and literally tens of thousands of transactions over the years that
Right.
we've assisted folks with. And not just putting a house up for sale, but actually the whole comprehensive package of getting everything out, getting the home ready for sale, doing all the things that most real estate agents really aren't equipped to do.
Right.
A monkey can put your listing in the multiple list system. It's much, much more than that to get it sold. So anyway, I'm not going to keep rambling, but I hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a wonderful day, everyone.